Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. My name is David Black. Um, I'm with Web Services, and today I'm going to show you the Form and Survey Builder. Now, if you're new to Web Tools, I'm going to start by showing you a couple things here, and then we'll dive into the Form Builder, and I'll tell you about the Survey Builder a little bit. They're the same tool with one caveat, and I'll explain that. So, um, if at any time you have any questions, go ahead and type them down in the conversation pane there below. Um, and I'll be able to kind of um, monitor that as I present. All right. Okay, so where I'm at here on the page you're looking at is the webtools illinois.edu/toolbox, the home page. This is where all of our software is located on the left. The one thing I like to point out is the contact us. It's a link on the top right. Whenever you're in Web Tools and you encounter any issue or you're having trouble, if you hit that, you're going to go to a forum, a Web Tools form actually, and if you fill that out, it will tell us the information we need to help troubleshoot your specific issue. So we'll know where you are in the software, and it kind of passes that information to our team. Um, we're pretty responsive. Within a minute or two, you'll have someone either give you an answer or contact you and kind of dig into the problem a little more with you. So and you don't hesitate to use that. We get those periodically, and um, we all check those. Another thing I should show you here are the announcements. If you could subscribe to our announcements. Announcements don't come frequently, but if there's like a bug in the software that's affecting everybody's stuff, we'll announce that when it's offline or back up again. So it's if you use web tools with some frequency, it's a good thing to be a part of. We also announce enhancements and training opportunities as well. Um, and so let's go ahead and dive into the form and surveys. Okay, the first thing I'd like to do is tell you that the form and the survey builder here down below are the same tool. They're exactly the same, except the only difference is that um, a survey is completely anonymous. So the user filling out your surveys online, you'll never know who submitted what answers. And at a research institution, that's really critical that the protection of the subjects that are responding is intact. So, and for that reason, the survey builder came about. We basically copied the form builder, but there is no way of knowing who filled out what information. So it's a completely anonymous um, tool. So if you need that, then you're going to want the survey builder. Otherwise, you're going to want the form builder. Typically, people create forms to capture um, exactly what user filled out the form. And there are a variety of ways to know who did what. So let's go ahead and just jump in. We're going to create a form, and we're going to fill it out and run a report. And through the process, you'll encounter all of the options along the way. So I'm going to go ahead and choose Setup, and you see this other option, Run Report. We'll do that in a little bit. So I just chose Setup here, and you'll see these are all my current form projects. I have lots of them. If you're just getting started, you won't have anything here. But these are all the ones they're in different statuses of this. Some are in draft format, some are live, and some are ended. So this is just a list of your projects, and they appear in this root folder by default. So to get started, we just create new, and that's going to create a new form project for us. This top section here, once we're completed, we will come back to this page and choose to start the form to make it live. This is also where we stop the form and take it offline and choose to edit it. So right now we leave it there, but just know that we'll come back and change the status of it. So with web tools, in all of our tools, we have tabs along the top once you kind of dive into the tool. And the workflow, basically you fill out each page and you go to the next tab. And by the end of the tabs, you will have kind of done all of the settings and you've completed everything. So that's kind of what we'll do here. So this general tab prompts us for some basic information. Um, I'm going to just create a title here for my forum. For this demo. What we do on the general tab is we provide your link to the form. So this is where it will always live. So I can copy that and I'll go paste this above. And so this is where my form will appear inside this skin here. Um, Now we will cover skins. I mentioned skins. We'll cover that. We're going to go to the Appearance tab where you can apply a template or like a shell that contains the form that can look like your website, um, or a lot of other things you can do. So the skin designer is its own tool, and we won't cover that, but I'll talk about what skins are in a little more detail on the Appearance tab. So that was your form URL. No matter what you do, however you edit it, take it offline, 2 years later, you come back and make a form live again, it always lives at that URL. So that'll never change. We have the option of automating the start and end date. So if I can set both of these to a duration of whatever I want. By default, we have to have an end date, so it's way out in the future, so it's basically live forever. But you can change that. You can only have this live for a day or two, a week, whatever you want. That's adjustable. Displaying line numbers when you have questions, and we usually number them. So um, question number 1, question number 2, for example. We can also choose to not number the questions, or if you choose custom, you're going to have an option when you enter questions to insert a special, you know, a special text field will show up where you can have like A, B, or C, or however you would want to do that. So usually auto suits everyone's needs. We'll keep it there. Setting the total number of submissions allowed. So in this field, I can say insert a number here, 200. If I do this, then what I've just done is limited the number of submissions to 200, which means after 200 people have submitted, the form cannot be submitted anymore. At which time, if somebody tries to submit it, then they'll receive a screen that says something like, I'm sorry, but the number of submissions has been reached. You can no longer submit. Now you can change the type on that screen to say whatever you want it to say, but the feature basically allows you to do things like, the example I like to use is if you have a limited number of seats at an event, for example, to like 30 seats, and the forum allows you to sign up to reserve a seat, you can simply type in 30 there, and now you've ensured that no more than 30 seats have been reserved. So you can limit number of submissions, and that can be used that way. Otherwise, if you leave it blank, you'll collect however many submissions people will use there. The pre-built tab is if you would like to save a form to use it later, you can choose yes and make the pre-built tab if I were to save my form and go back to my main screen. The pre-built tab appears from the main screen right here. If I click that, I should have a list of forms that have been set to be saved in the pre-built tab, which means I can take these and make copies of them. Basically, it organizes forms you want to reuse on its own tab, pre-built. You can always choose one of these forms and make copies of them as well. But if you know you're always reusing the same, you can throw them on the pre-built tab. Okay, I think I called our form. See, I remember what I titled our form. Demo example form, right? Okay. So let's go ahead and save and just move on to the next tab. This is where the form gets created in the questions tab. And what you see in front of you is a little interface for adding questions and kind of building a form. So once we click this plus sign, we're going to be adding a first question. So let's go ahead and do that. So I hit the plus sign to add a question, and my tabs along the top are different now. I have short answer, long answer, radio checkbox, and some other options here. I can choose for a format for this question. And what we'll do is go through each, we'll make a question for each type, and then I'm going to show you how each of these work. So I'm sure you've encountered each of these in the past, and we have some special settings for each one of them, in some cases, and I'll kind of walk you through what those are. But a common question to ask when using short answer is, what is your name, for example? And you can see that I can switch to an HTML view if I hit that. Now I've got some text editor. I can make some things bold if I want to, or even edit the source code. I can add a link. If I want to link this to something, I can add that link there. But if it's simply a question you just want to ask text-based, you're okay to keep it on text. So I can see some code trickled over there. We won't need that, but so that is the basic text we're looking for the question. So right now I don't have a response requirement, but I'm going to put one on there. So yes, users will have to answer this one. So we have validation rules as well. If you're asking for someone's email address, if the question was what's your email address, and I have email chosen for validation and formatting, then we're going to check for a valid email address, which means the character at and like .gmail or .yahoo or some kind of suffix to the email that we're checking against. And same goes for the date. If you ask for a date, there's formatting that we check for. And if you click on this examples, you'll see the valid dates formats can include any of these formats. Users would have to enter this. So you can see the various requirements that we have put into place so that you can ensure people are entering the right type of data when they fill out the answer in kind of like a field format like this. Okay, so you can set the maximum words or characters you let someone type. So you can enter words or characters, and you can see you can just type in a maximum allowance for that. And I can insert a default answer if I want to. Um, you may have a question where you want to kind of, by default encourage a specific answer, and you can kind of fill it out. And then when somebody answers that question, they kind of have to go in and change the answer to something else. So, that may align with what you're doing, or you may not need that. And we're going to cover web parameter toward the end if we have some time. But basically, let me tell you what it does. What you can do is send a custom link out to someone, and if you include at the end of that URL, um, you can include like their first and last name as values. And you can pass them as parameters through a URL. And when they click on the link, the form will open up with their first name, last name, for example, already filled out. So it's kind of a fancy feature to um, let you kind of pre-fill out some things that you know about your users already. And I'll show you how to do one of those if time permits here. Okay. And here is sample instruction. So you can insert instructions. Those can be HTML as well. Or you can just make them purely text. But let me show you kind of where those appear, and you can decide whether you want to use them or how you want to use those. So I've got this answer, my short answer question filled out. I'm going to save this. I'm going to actually go back and take a view of my form. Okay, so here I have, here's my sample instructions. And question 1, star indicates it's required. What's your name, right? You can type this in here. Now, I think I have a date format requirement on this field, which I didn't mean to set. So that's why you see the calendar there, because I think the question thinks I'm trying to make a date. So this is a good time I can go back in and edit that. So here's the page. I can go in and edit this question. And I did have the validation as a date format, so I want to choose none. I'm going to save that and view it. Okay, so this is the proper format. One thing I didn't mention, it's this yellow box on the top. So let me explain what this does. It says this form is not yet live. Submitting the form will not store any data, so you can click this button to submit and preview it, but it's actually not functioning yet. But you can test validation rules. So if I did require the date format and I had this set to on, it would pop an error if I didn't have the right format. Or if I don't include anything since it's required and I have this set to on and I submit it, it's going to simulate it being live. So it says my validation rules are simulated saying question 1 text is required. Okay, so that's all this yellow box is saying, is that this is a test situation and it lets you kind of simulate validation. If I turn it off and I submit my form, then I can see what a successful submission would be without having to fill it out. So here's your success screen. We can edit this copy as well. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Let's go ahead and add another question. And let's add the long answer type. So I click to add a question, change the tab to long answer, and now I'm going to enter my question here. So here's a common kind of a long answer question. So this is kind of like an open format where you're kind of asking somebody to share, right? Is a response required? Let's require no. These are the same character limit fields you saw. Same thing, default answer and instructions. So, you can kind of decide how you want, you can have instructions. The instructions could say, could say a lot of things. I won't go into detail, but you get the idea. I'm going to go ahead and save this. And let's go back and view. Okay. Um, so here we go. Sample long answer. It looks like that. Let's go ahead and add another question type. Let's add the radio. Now, you've seen radio buttons before, and you've seen checkboxes. The difference is radio buttons, and let me go ahead and, radio buttons only allow one answer. So a checkbox, you can checkmark many things, or just one, but a radio requires only one answer. So let's write a question where that aligns. So what day of the week works best here? Okay, let's require that. And here is a prompt where I'm asked to add my answers. So what day of the week works best for you? I want my answers to be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It says enter the answers below and click add. So here's the add button. You'll forget to do that clicking add, but I'm going to point that out ahead of time because I forget all the time. Click this add button. Let's insert the answers. Monday, and I'm going to hit a return after each one of them. Tuesday. Okay. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I hit a carriage return after each one of those, right? It's on their own line. I'm telling the system that's how I've entered them here. I could have also inserted them with a comma between each one of them or a semicolon. Now, depending on, you may have 50 different answers for one question. And so you may already have that in a spreadsheet, and it's real easy to export those with a comma separated, right? And you can paste those in there. So that's why we have these other options. So you may have the data in these other formats. If you're typing it, I just always use carriage return. Click add. Okay, here's what happens. Just below that, there's an area that's been created where we list all of the answers here below. And you have the ability to edit those answers, each one of them. You can move them up and down in the order. You can delete one of them, or you can insert another one here. So there's also an option for inserting an other So you've seen this before. And let's just go ahead and create it, and then I'm going to choose, yeah, short answer. And let's just write some copy in here. Let's actually say, those are some real instructions there. Okay, save this. Let's view what this looks like. Okay, what day of the week works best for you? Here we go. We can only choose one. See if I check, the other one checks off. If I choose other, then we get a field that pops up where I could enter something else. Okay, so you can allow that as an option, or you don't have to use that option. I can also change the text from being other to my own text. So if I edit this question, go back in there, I can choose other to any other text that I want to use here. And updating that um, easily kind of reflects on the site. Yeah. I can also change that to a long answer field where it will, instead of the short text box, I get this long answer box when they choose that. So depending on the question you ask, you may want to do that. Okay. Let's add another one here. Let's add a checkbox this time. Okay. Okay, so what times are you usually available? We'll just require all of it. I think I pasted it. Okay, let's use some times. Let's be general here. Okay, you can choose add, and then they are below. We need an other here. Okay, with checkboxes, you remember I had said you can choose multiple at one time. So you can limit that. You can say, choose 2 out of the 3 below. Let's actually put that in the instructions. And let's maximum checkboxes limit to 2. Okay, so if I save this and view the form, you can checkboxes allow for multiple selections, right? But you see I've limited to 2 and now I've chosen 3. If I have my validation on, I try to submit it, it's going to say, it's going to say I didn't fill these out. But in question 4, it says checkbox option can only have a maximum of 2 options checked. So this is how you can create limits with some options. So you can give people a selection without having to require just one, but you can give them some variety. So we've allowed the checkbox to work that way. Okay. If you don't have any limits on it, then someone can choose all 3 of them. And let me show you one more thing while we're in the checkbox. So everything we've covered here looks like. Now, one thing you can do, if you decide, you know what, this is really a radio button type of question, but I've already made this as a checkbox, you can simply choose a different tab. So let me choose the radio tab, and all this information will carry. So here I've got the radio tab, right? I just changed the tab. And all my information is here. If I save this and go back, this is how you can change the format without losing anything. So now it's a radio question requiring one answer. So you don't have to kind of redo all of it. You can simply just tab over and your data kind of migrates along with it. Okay, let's keep moving on here. Let's add pull down. You've all seen these before. So let's ask a question that requires a pull down. Okay. So here's a common one, and choose your state. You know, there are 50, and you'd also don't want to have to add 50 of them, right? And we have something for this. So we're going to require it, and yeah, I don't want to have to add all 50 states. So for this option, you'll see um, we offer that. So you can choose the abbreviated state or just the state in these different formats. So I'm just going to choose one of these formats and click add, and you'll see what I mean. So here we've added all 50 states for you because it's just such a common thing people need to do. Um, yeah. So there you go. There are your states. Um, you can default if we're all in Illinois. That may be something you want to do. And let's leave the instructions off. Okay, I'm going to save this. And I'm going to go back and view. Okay, choose your state. Illinois is defaulted. I click it. There are all my states. Okay. Pretty simple. Let's add the next type. Ranking. You may not have seen this. This may be a little bit custom. So let me show you what it does here. Let me ask a question. So please rank in order of your preference. These are kind of really instructions. But let's go ahead with it. Yeah, we'll require this, and we're going to have someone rate. Um, let's have them rank 3 of them, and let's add some answers. So I'm just going to write some possible answers. I spell Sudoku right. I think I did. Okay. So we have 5 answers. We're going to have them rate 3 of them. Let's add those answers. Okay. Rank only your top 3. Let's add those instructions. Let's save that, and let's take a look at that. Okay. Rank only your top 3. Please rank in order of your preference. So what we're getting at is users typing in the numbers. So this is what we're going for. This is an answer that we're looking for. Rank your top 3. So they're inserting numbers here. Now they may not, yeah, that may not seem immediately apparent. I may want to say in my instructions for this question, insert there we go. So I insert some instructions there that might be a little clearer. So I view this, and there's some insert numbers 1 through 3. So I do 1, 2, 4. I should get an error if I've got validation on. Yep, the ranking requires exactly 3 options. So if I did 2, it would still throw an error. Okay. Let's see if it covered everything in ranking here. I think so. Yep. All right. Matrix. Let's add a matrix question. This is another one of those you've probably seen. Let's see here. Matrix questions they share the same answer set. So here's one that you'll recognize. Okay. So let's see here. Let me ask matrix here. Click on the matrix question. Yeah, matrix questions, there are multiple questions that all share the same answer set. So here's what I mean. Um, here's one question. Okay. Let me ask 3 questions here. Let me say, let me actually change kind of the language so you'll see why I'm doing this. You probably know what I'm getting at already here. These are more like statements. Okay, let me add another one. Okay, answers to add. Let's do this. Let's see. Okay, I kind of inserted some weird things, so I want to show you what that looks like after we add these and fill the rest of this out here. Now these can be, you can let somebody only choose one, which mine kind of aligns with, or somebody can choose multiple. So let's see what this looks like before we get too far in there. Okay, here we go. You've seen this before. So I enjoy where I work. Here I can fill this out. Strongly agree, right? And then I'm able to do what I do best every day. So you get the idea. So this is a matrix where multiple questions all share the same answer set. This way, the user understands the answer set, and then they can kind of quickly run down the list of questions and kind of take them down. Okay. Let's add the files. So this is really where you're prompting someone to upload a file. We accept any file type except like executable files, which no one would ever need to upload. But every type of file is accepted, so you don't have to worry. And I think it's 50 megabytes is the limit. So files that are quite large, you can invite people to upload. So you may want to require a Word document or another type of thing, but we don't say. Okay, let's take a view. And you can see, please upload your resume. And here we go. We do say maximum file size, 50 megabytes. If I click on it, you've all seen the file browser. I'm just going to upload an image now. It can upload an image. So that will submit when the form is submitted. And the last one is called header. And let me show you that. A header is not actually a question, but it's exactly what you think it might sound like. It's a header, and you might need these. Let me show you. Okay, I'll just do this. Save the header. It's at the bottom of my page. Let me show you what it looks like. Okay, sample header description. So what's great about the header is it helps break up a survey, and I can let's say I never really want this at the end of my survey. I can basically use it to introduce a new section, right? So what I can do is use these arrows and put it like after question 5, for example. And this is how you do it. You basically choose the arrow and you inch it up until it's to the location where you want it. And then we save, view, and there we have the headers inserted right there. So that option is available. You can put as many of those. You can put one in between every question if you want to spell each one of them out with some instructions that way too. So, and maybe that's the way you want to include some instructions instead of using this one. You're able to do that. Okay, here's something else. So we've seen all the question types, but we can do some things from this screen also. We have page breaks. Okay, I'm going to insert all page breaks and show you what this button does. Okay, Firefox is waiting, I think. Here we go. So I inserted all page breaks, which means every question is on its own page. If I view now my survey, you'll see that each question is on its own page, and then we've inserted paging, and you've got like a status indicator saying what percentage of the way through you're on page 1 of 8. So I answer question 1. I choose next. Question 2. And so this is really good for like a mobile device format. That actually kind of works really well. Or if each question, requires some attention, you can kind of isolate it so it's on its own page. It's a format that's kind of like presents just one thing at a time. The usability of that's usually pretty good. So you may decide if you've got a short survey, it doesn't work too well for lengthy ones, but if you've got a short one, you may want each page to have a question on each page. It also buys you the ability to jump from one question to another one based on the answer. Now, you're going to have to see it to understand what I mean. So let's show you what that means. So there's a feature in our software called Jump To. And if the question only allows one answer, so for example, the radio button, we can say if you've answered your question this way, go to another page. Or if you'd answered it the other way, go to a different page. And let's set that up. So our radio option was what day of the week works best for you. So let's open that question, edit it. Now, if I have my questions on a page, if there's a page break, you'll see now the question allows a jump to page feature. Again, it's only available for radio button questions that allow one answer, and I believe select pull-down menus allow only one answer, so we can do it on those question types. So let's just say if they answered Monday, we're going to jump to the very last question. Let's just say we don't really need to know what how you'll answer the other ones if you're only able to be there Monday, but if you can be there Friday or any of these other days, we need you to fill out the rest of it. So we're going to jump to page 8 if you answer Monday. Save. Now, a lot of people have asked about this kind of logic, and it's pretty rudimentary. Like you can do some things with it that are useful, but you kind of have to plan your survey so that you have the page break and the radio question in place and all of it set up, and you know exactly how it'll work. So let's just say I choose Monday, and I click next. Now I'm all the way to question 10. You saw I skipped all those other ones, and I jumped right to question 10. That's the jump to. You have to have the paging in place, and you have to have a question with a radio or a select. That's it. Let me delete all these page breaks now. You can actually insert, and you can see I have a red line here. That's because I had functionality that was contingent upon there being a page break, which is good because now I can add a page break. You can add these manually if you want to. So let me add a couple page breaks. And so let's go back to edit this question. So on page 1, I'm going to ask these 3 questions. And on page 2, you're going to get these 4. And then 7 through 10 are on the 3rd page. So I've got this indicator saying, hey, there's something going on. I go in there. Um, I want to jump to page 3 now. Okay, red line goes away. So that's paging. You can insert all by choosing this. You can delete them all, or you can insert them individually. So that's basically the construction of a form and all of the features there. Let's keep going. Let's go onto the security tab. Okay, security tab um, basically controls who you allow to preview and look at this form and fill it out. Public access is just what you think it would be. Anyone, anywhere can access this and fill it out. Secured means that we require you to have a net ID. And by default, that means if you scroll below, access by default is given to it's campus access, Chicago, Illinois, and Springfield. So by default, we have these settings so that it requires you to be logged into the network in order to submit the survey. I'm sorry, in order to actually view the form, you have to be logged in. Now, 90% of the time, you'll never know that it requires that because you're essentially logging into your machine already logs you into the network. So users aren't prompted to log in unless they're probably at home or on a computer they're not logged into the network on. So um, a lot of times you don't even notice it's secured. It just kind of collects your net ID automatically behind the scenes. So why we default to that is because most people want to know who answered in what way. So when we go to reporting, I'll show you that you'll be able to see my answer set and you'll see my net ID in a spreadsheet. So you'll know that I answered that way. Um, and so that's what secured is. I can then, if I just want to do the Springfield campus, I can remove access to Chicago and Illinois. So you can kind of play with that access if you want. Private, you can also limit it. Sorry, you can also limit it to specific groups that you've assigned in the group manager, um, or you can enter in department access only, units and colleges access only. So I could add, public affairs is the only unit whose net IDs will give them access to taking this. So that's kind of how security gets set up. You can also limit to one response. So um, I believe since we know who you are, I think if I choose public, we can't really do that. Secured, we can say, if you've been here before, we don't let you submit it again. I will point out, just because it's secured doesn't mean you can't give access to only people with Gmail addresses. And by that, you would need to establish a group with very specific users in it. And if that group has access privileges, those email addresses can log in and take that form. And it will also appear in the reporting with their answers. So um, that's how you basically set security settings to control who's able to take your form. Private limits the form to only the users on the let's see here. Let me see. I want to say this correctly. Private is only open to the users on the privileges tab. So basically your team. It basically is not viewable to very many people at all, just only your immediate team who's assigned to the privileges tab. So typically it's secured and most users keep it secured, and these 3 campuses suffice to have the security. The appearance tab allows you to choose your skin. Now, a skin is the thing along the right, the thing that is your form is inside of. See, the form is inside of it, has a header, a footer with links, and the background color. All of this is my skin. You have probably a very different skin. This is the default skin. Your form sits inside of this. So um, you'll probably want this to look like your unit or be customized to, reflect whatever it is you're doing in the form builder. So but one thing that we can help with, you can either do the skin yourself in the skin designer. We are able to quickly do these. and we've done many of them over the years. And if we get like a website or something to use some source material, images, and links from, we're happy to create a skin for you. Just hit the contact us and let us know, and we can just make it available for you, and you can then go in and have it and edit it as you need it. So feel free to ask us for a skin. Otherwise, the skin options you have are on this area here, and you just basically choose it and it appears in something else. So let's see here. I have a variety of skins here. Oh, let's just choose this one. So if I view my form in a different skin, this is the same form, but it's a pizza skin. So it's not real, but it's just an example. All right. So you get the idea. Now we have a screens tab, and this is where you go. There are a lot of associated screens to creating a form, like when you submit it, it's, thank you for submitting the form. This form was successfully submitted. Thank you. This is where you go to change that to whatever you want. Add links. And you may want to direct people to doing something else after they fill out the form. Um, and this is where you can go do that. You can add HTML. You can add links. You can encourage them to take it again and link back to the form itself, and that'll cause them to go back to the beginning of the form. Lots of possibilities how you may want to close out your contact with them, and this is where you go do that. So the ended, this form is not online anymore, it's ended. Here's where your 30 seats are filled at the RSVP. Maximum have been submitted. What do we say? The maximum have been reached. Thanks for trying to take it. So, right. Okay, let's go on to the email screen. This is useful. A lot of people like this feature. So one, you can email the results to the actual user who submitted the form. Basically, I submit the form. Let me go ahead and do that. I'll show you what it does later. Yes, I want the user to receive their answers. Okay. I can also say, oh, I want some other people to receive these results as well. So um, maybe, this person on my team needs to know right when somebody submits something, because he'll go do something based on that. I add his email. Now, Jim Wilson will receive the survey results when somebody submits. And that's pretty valuable to lots of people to have an email. Rather than having to do reporting and find out, you get a direct email with the answers. Okay. You can also choose a text or HTML. You can insert some content that goes above and below the message. And I'll do that. And we'll run an email after I submit. Okay. Let's save that. All right. Users, you can allow users to save their form and finish it later. So great feature, especially if you've got a lengthy form. Now what this will do, once the user says, hey, I want to save and finish later, it sends them an email that links back to their form with their answers in it. And basically they go back to their email anytime they want, they click on the link, and then they're back to their form to finish where they left off. You can also allow users to delete their submission, which means they fill it out, they submit it, they get an email saying, congratulations, it's submitted. If you want to delete it, click here, and they can remove their submission at any time. Okay. Utilities. Now, I said the only difference between form and survey is that surveys are anonymous. So you may get confused and have done all this work in the survey builder or in the form builder, and now it needs to be a survey and you forgot. Well, this has happened before. So we've got a button now, and you can copy this whole thing to be a survey. And likewise, you can copy a survey into being a form. So there's these buttons, and it allows you to do that. Data export gives IT the ability to pull response information directly from our system. I see. So if I choose yes, then I allow interaction with some of your IT staff to allow the data to be pulled directly from the form, I believe. So if you have questions or you're interested in this, I think it's best to just let me know and we can kind of work with you. Or if you're confident with these settings, go ahead and fill these out. And the last tab here are the privileges. And there are 3 roles in a form. So you have basically an administrator is everything you've seen me do, plus running reports. You have editors. Editors are able to only kind of edit and create edit a form, add questions, and do everything on the questions tab, but they can't make a form live, take it offline, or delete it or add people. And results viewers can only view reporting, so they're not able to go in and edit questions or add users and such. They can just look at reports. So you may have a need to establish these roles in your team. If you don't have a need to delineate, you can just make people an admin that gives them kind of full range of access. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back to the General tab. Let's make our form live. And remember, this was the place where I had said we'd come back and we're going to go ahead and start the form. Let's go ahead and start it. It says no further changes are going to be allowed. Let's say okay. Okay, so now my form is live. It's at the link that we gave you there. Let's go ahead and go to the form and let's just fill it out first of all. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this out. Choose one option below. Let me choose Tuesday so I hit all the questions. And you see my save and finish later down there. What times are you usually available? Choose 2 out of the 3, right? Okay, 2 out of the 3. Choose my state. Whoops. Okay, choose next. Choose strongly agrees here. And upload a file. Doesn't matter what. Okay, and I'm done, so I'm going to submit. And the form was successfully submitted. Okay, great. Let's go back to my form. It's still live, right? Let's keep it going live. And I'm going to actually go to this Run Report tab. Demo form example. So when you choose Run Report, you get a list. It's called My Results. These are all of the forms that you have. They're either live or not live, but they're all here. So demo form example, demo example form is right here. Once I check that, I can create a report. I can delete it, which I'm not going to do. You can also hit the plus sign and create a report here. Let's just do that. It's live, but you can run reports while it's live. So I choose generate a report. It asks for a report name. So let me do one in case we do more than one. It's currently running. I can run on a duration of time. If I want to only look at a week of reporting, I can. And there are these report types I can choose from. Now you can just kind of experiment and see what each of these look like. Here are examples along the right. These are examples. People have confused these with these are their reports, but in fact, these are just samples. So this full spreadsheet, you can open it in Excel, and here's an example of a form with a full spreadsheet, CSV. So for this example, we didn't know the user's net ID. Let's kind of close this out. I just wanted to show you that those examples are there, but let's kind of run one off of our thing here. And let's start with the full spreadsheet just because that kind of gives us a view of everything. Let's generate that. Okay, now it brings you back to the tab we started on. We just generated a report. Now we go to the My Reports tab. After it's done, it'll appear here. Okay, let's download that spreadsheet. Let's see, where is that? If it's not here yet, we've got a queue. It says all reports have been generated. Okay, so it should be here in My Reports. Here it is, demo example form 1. Let's download it, open it in Excel. Okay, let's see what we've got. User ID. So I was logged into the system. So it captured that. It's captured the submission date, question 1 answer, how I answered question 1. Now it's got something that you probably won't want, and you may want this like this, but I need to point it out. Question 3 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 possible columns. And you can see I answered it Tuesday, and we put a 1 in there. The others have zeros. Now, depending on how you need the data, you may need it like this, but as in a kind of machine readable format, but really a more usable format. And when we get to the states, let me show you what it does for the states. So yeah, you probably don't want to indicate this if a human is reading it like this. Now, I like to show people this because it's common. Go back to my results, demo form example. Okay, let's create another report. Do the same type of thing, full spreadsheet. If I go down below, I got the single result. So for questions that have like multiple, and I don't want the ones and zeros, we consolidate to single results, and I want to do that now for all mine. Just generate that. Let's call it 2. Generate. Okay, my reports, demo 2. If I open that one, it'll be now in the format that's much more readable. And it says, question 3, where are we? Okay, here. Now it just gives me the answer, Tuesday. Right, that's how I want it. Or my state is Illinois. Question 5 now only has 1 column. So I wanted to point that out. We also have great kind of friendly PDF types of previewing. So let me create a PDF real quick. Let's just create a PDF summary. There are many kinds of, let me do by ID because that's a useful format. Okay, I'll show you what that looks like. So by ID, so here's my ID, right? And here's what I answered in a PDF format, right? And if there were multiple users, there would just be multiple pages to this PDF file. Now I did some things. I think I have an email in my inbox. Okay, now I can, as a user, I'm able to delete this form. I was emailed my results. So here they are in my email. Here's what it looks like. The email header and footer are in my email. I added that. And I think Jim may have gotten an email. I don't think I told him that he would, but I think he got an email because I said he was a user who would also receive a copy of the email results. Okay, so that's, let's see. Let me make sure I've got everything that I wanted to show you here. I think we got everything. If at this time, I'm going to go ahead and open up for questions, and just let me know if you have any questions, and I'll stay here afterwards for however long is useful. And thanks everyone for attending. I'm going to put this online, this demo, at go.illinois.edu/webtoolshelp. We'll probably also link to this through our homepage.